the natural beauty is revealed on the inside of the iPhone. So one area this machine struggles with is around the lens itself, and we're gonna have to run it a couple times to ensure that it gets all of the adhesive. The lens area is very tricky. And if you are using this machine, this isn't really how you're going to be doing it. Usually the glass is all broken, so it's going to be refracting and it won't be as effective as this. I'm honestly stunned at how good it looks already. It's like a smoky glass. Really excited to see that final result. But in the case that you do have a broken back, you'd want to run it a couple times for whoever has this machine or is looking to purchase it. I could see it being a very invaluable asset to any repair facility. So now we're going around the lens. And surprisingly still looking pretty good, but it did burn away some of the lens. Is that because no, it's on there. It clipped a little bit of the lens, interesting. So it's doing a second run, make sure it gets all the adhesive. Very surprised at how effective it is so far. I mean, compared to the last process where you'd have to physically scrape it or even liquid nitrogen it, this is a walk in the park. Oh, so it's actually burning some of the side too. I feel like the diagram could be a little bit cleaner. I don't really care about this phone, but if it was for repair, man, and it's like all the way in there, you know, nowhere else to move it. And the surprising thing is the iPhone stays cool the entire time. So no risk of overheating the battery or anything. It's a very efficient process. Okay, so it did essentially 3 passes. And you can see where all of the adhesive was. Get your tool in there and go ahead and pry the rest of the adhesive off. Remember, we want this to break. So when that happens in a second.
Happy birthday!
Today, Dad got me a car for my 18th. Man, I miss him so much.
Help your family's life go on, even after.
Not a problem. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, wow. That is some resilient glass if it's not breaking. That'll do it. Okay, now we go around the lens, pick away at the remaining glass. But overall, this made an extremely difficult job much simpler. So this is the result, all cleaned up. Honestly, did not turn out as nice as I thought it would. Better than my iPhone 10 and 10s version, but still nowhere near as clean as I thought. So be careful when actually removing the glass not to rip the wireless coil. So I actually lasered one of these pieces of glass, then I had to clean it up and polish it. Didn't turn out super bad, but not something I'd actually like to rock on the daily. So that's what the iPhone 11 looks like. And at this point is where we decide with B7000 glue whether we want to put the clear cover on. It does dry clear, or use the replacement with the larger lens cutout. And that's of course going to look OEM, and you can complete your repair just that easy. Seriously, an awesome way to repair your iPhone, much simpler, much cheaper than Apple's. Of course, once you invest in the machine, but for repair shops, it's an invaluable asset. So next up, the iPhone 11 Pro. Let's get that engaged. Pop it in its slot, test the laser. All right, and it's off. So it's a little fainter on the white, and the matte does make a difference. It will have to go through several times, I believe, to make up for the refraction. I definitely notice a difference in the matte. It's a lot harder for the laser to get through, so it does many passes, and I'm hoping that it comes off as easily. Again, when your back is broken, it's going to be much more difficult to actually remove the glass. This is the best case scenario where there are no shards or cracks at all, so it should be fairly easy. And this one looks pretty cool. Wow. So even just like this, that's a pretty neat effect. It's like a Stormtrooper iPhone.
One reusable bottle can save thousands of plastic bottles.
Domino's war on delivery charges just got bigger. Because our $15 delivered deal now includes our vegan and plant-based pizzas. Any lunch pizza, just 15 bucks. Delivered.
Obviously there's that bleach. What is up guys, TechCracks here. So in this video I have every water resistant iPhone that Apple has ever made: the 6S, the 7, the 8, the XR, the 10, the 10S, the 11, and the 11 Pro. I'm going to be pouring 3 different things on all these phones, guys. All of them are in mint condition, working devices. We're going to be pouring Coca-Cola all over them for 10 hours. They're all going to be fully charged up and on. Then after that, milk for 10 hours, and after that, Clorox bleach for 10 hours. So 3 different extensive liquid durability tests. The iPhone 6S, the reason I'm including this iPhone, it's not technically the first water resistant iPhone. That would be the 7 with IP67, and then IP68 with the 10S. So that was really the most advanced water resistant iPhone. And then of course the new iPhone 11 Pro, that's good for like 13 feet down under. But the reason I'm including the 6S because it was technically like almost secretly waterproof. They had like silicone seals around the logic board and some sort of adhesive around the case of the phone. So I want to include it there anyways. And of course the 11, this phone is still sealed. So there's the wrapper, it's gone. Same with the 11 Pro. Start pouring it all in here, and we're going to leave it here overnight. All the phones are fully charged up. I'm going to put a lid on top of this container as well, just so some of the carbonation can stay inside. And just like that, all the iPhones are submerged in Coca-Cola, guys. So I'm going to see you in about 10 hours when we're going to pour all of it out and start pouring milk in. And it'll be really interesting, just really briefly, as far as also the battery life, how these phones do in terms of battery, because all of them are fully charged up. I know the 6S, it says it's 90%, but it was fully charged. So I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Okay guys, so it's morning here. It's actually been about 12 hours, but let's pop open the lid, and whoa, they're all on but the 6S and the XR. So the battery could have died on those, but the rest have very low battery. So let's get all this Coke out. We're going to charge up the phones again and then start pouring the milk and make sure actually all the phones are working at this point. So one thing I found really interesting is the iPhone 11 has a battery percentage of 3% after all this, while the 11 Pro has a whopping 70%. Some unfortunate update, guys. The iPhone 8 is out of business. This phone was charging midway. I blinked a couple times and it completely shut off on me. So I was able to hear the little vibration, but now I can't even get any sign of it to come to life whatsoever. So the iPhone 11 is actually charging extremely slowly, having some issues, but once I have them fully charged up, guys, I'm going to line them back here. We're going to start pouring the milk. So the remaining iPhones are all charged up now. Here it is, guys, all of the phones. Next up we got milk, so I'm going to go straight into this, guys. Let's start pouring milk all over these phones, and this is really the second test, so this is where it's going to be interesting. Oh my goodness, just like that, all submerged in milk. We're going to wait 10 hours and do all the cleaning, all the charging once again. And I've poured all the milk out, guys. So real briefly, just to show you guys, this phone is on, so that's good. That's obviously the new iPhone 11 Pro. And what's the battery here? It's 57%, not too bad. Checking some of the other phones, 6S. Obviously, I'm going to charge all of them up later, but 6S is not powering right now. iPhone 7, 12%. iPhone XR, not powering on, needs to charge. iPhone 11 needs to charge. Oh, wow. The iPhone 10 pretty much at full battery. And then the iPhone 10s needs to charge. So I'm going to clean all these phones up. I'm going to charge them up once again, place them on here, and we're going to go with the final bleach test. 2 more casualties in the 10-hour milk test, guys. So I'm charging all of the other phones right now. All of them are doing pretty fine. But we have two phones that are completely out of business again, and this is actually kind of shocking me. I know these phones are water resistant, they're not technically waterproof, but I wouldn't expect phones, to die off, like the iPhone 8 just from sitting in Coca-Cola. Well, now we have the iPhone 6s. So this phone, sure, it's probably the weakest one out of all of them. I would imagine it would have died from the Coca-Cola, but it wasn't holding a charge. It was just stuck at 2%. I was having the phone plugged in and it basically shut off. But that makes sense. What doesn't make sense is this iPhone 10. So this phone was perfectly fine in battery life. I took it out, it was working, and then all of a sudden it started having the Apple logo boot up and off. It was turning on and off for like 15 minutes. Phone completely shut off. So now this phone doesn't work at all. In the lens, there's like some of the moisture in the camera a little bit, but kind of disappointing. iPhone 10. Like, come on, iPhone 10 out of all of them. So we're gonna wait until we charge up the rest of the phones, guys, and finally we're gonna be pouring bleach on all of them. The last test, guys, Clorox bleach. We have the remaining survivors, iPhone 7, XR, 10s, 11, and 11 Pro Max. Interesting to point out, I managed to charge all of them up. The 11 had a lot of issues for me. Multiple times it was saying there was liquid detected, and it couldn't charge properly, so I've never seen it before, but it basically says emergency override, and I had to select that, and it was charging very, very slowly. So we're still all alive, but this is the final test, guys. Got the good old Clorox 10-hour test, and we'll see what happens after this. So, ooh, delicious. And perfectly, all the phones are submerged. They're all on. I'll check up on you guys after 10 hours. Just gonna go ahead and pour out all the bleach. It smells really, really bad, by the way, but just to show you guys, a lot of it I think absorbed into the styrofoam, because I had a lot more. Looks like a lot of it is gone. That's basically it. So let's go ahead and wash the iPhones and see how they hold up. Guys, the results of all these 3 tests and the remaining phones, guys. So I have all the phones lined up here. What is the phone you should choose if you are relying solely on water resistance, guys? So we're going to start off with the iPhone 7. So check out the back. First of all, you guys can clearly see there's a whole bunch of discoloration here, mainly from that bleach. The phone charges perfectly fine. I got it up to 50%. The problem, the home button. So this doesn't click anymore, but otherwise, phone actually charges, and I'm surprised. The 7 works perfectly fine. Next up, we have the iPhone XR. So this phone here actually works perfectly fine as well. It charges fine, and I think out of all the phones, it charges the best. It charges the fastest. I don't have any issues at all with the charging with this phone through all 3 tests. Here's the back. Obviously, there's